Good evening, and thanks once again for joining us for this special election edition of Action 2 News.
We're watching some big races tonight that will determine the future of Wisconsin. Many of those races already have been called. We begin with the race for the Wisconsin governor's position. So right now, Governor Scott Walker has been re-elected. The current numbers with 35% of the vote in, 58% for Scott Walker, 41% for Mary Burke. ABC, NBC, and AP have all called it the third win in the battle for governor for Scott Walker in 4 years. Now, this is a live look at both the election parties for Governor Walker in West Allis and for Democratic challenger Mary Burke. You see that on the right. We will bring you live reports from our crews on the scene there in just a couple of minutes.
When we look at this independent group right here, the governor in the exit polling a 10-point lead, how critical is that group?
Well, that was the critical group. He had to win high in that group in order to pull this out. As
you've been talking about, Republicans basically all for the governor, Democrats all for Mary Burke.
Right, and that's traditionally what you'd see. You'd expect that. This is the group, the independent group is the group that's really going to determine the outcome of the election.
But you're hearing more cheers like now from the crowd, people cheering 4 more years for Governor Walker.
At ABC News and the AP both have called this race for Governor Walker, but we just heard from some of Mary Burke's fellow Democrats that some of those votes are still coming in from Madison and Milwaukee, so there still has not been an announcement here.
Back to Attorney General with 38% of the precincts reporting Brad Schimmel right now with a 56-41 lead over Susan Happ.
And on to the 6th congressional race, where the former representative there, Republican Tom Petrie, who's held that position since 1979, opted not to seek re-election. 56% of the vote in right now. Glenn Grothman is the projected winner. We also have Mark Harris. Right now, we're told that Glenn Grothman is at the podium, so let's join him right now.
Well, thanks. Is there food here? No, yeah. I didn't know that. How come you didn't tell me that? I would have come out here earlier. Okay, but thanks all for being here. Thanks much.
Here are these results. You just heard Glenn Grothman giving his victory speech. 56% of those in Glenn Grothman, 58% to Mark Harris's, 40%. Dave, in this 6th congressional district, this is really no surprise tonight.
No surprise at all. I mean, this district has been Republican for a long period of time, and we anticipated that Grothman would win this.
Tom Petrie, since 1979, there were questions about Glenn Grothman if he was too conservative. Mark Harris was trying less to sound like a Democrat, more like a moderate. That R, though, has to automatically help Glenn in that district.
Well, it does. And what we see today with redistricting, that those congressional districts are becoming much more solidly Democratic or Republican. This is one that is pretty solidly Republican.
So after more than a decade, or after about a decade in the state Senate, Glenn Grothman is now headed to the U.S. House of Representatives. He's here now shaking hands, being congratulated by all the well-wishers that are here this evening. We'll obviously have more for you later tonight and tomorrow morning as well. So reporting live in Fond du Lac, Emily Matesic, Action 2 News.
Thank you, Emily. We appreciate that live report tonight from Fond du Lac and the Grothman campaign.
So the winner so far tonight, again, Scott Walker, governor. We have Glenn Grothman and Reed Ribble. Those are the ones that have already been called. The other ones starting to put a little distance between the two, but no winners have been declared just yet.
Latest numbers are scrolling at the bottom of your screen and, of course, at WBAY.com. Let's go live to Jason Zimmerman. He is with the Harris campaign tonight. Jason.
Cami, obviously the mood here isn't so enthusiastic at Beckett's and Oshkosh, where just a few minutes ago Mark Harris officially conceded. Now, Harris and his supporters were hoping that this would be a much tighter race in a district that has not elected a Democrat to Congress since 1967. The Winnebago County executive arrived just after the polls closed tonight. After that, he mingled and much of the crowd as he watched the returns come in. He knew right from the start that this would be an uphill battle, but Harris felt he had a chance, portraying himself as a moderate, much like outgoing Republican Congressman Tom Petrie.
We got all the major paper endorsements that endorsed. I think we did well in all the debates. Having more money so that we could match the opposition in TV and mail ads would have been nice, but probably isn't realistic for a Democratic candidate in this district.
Penny Bernard Shaber is out talking to supporters, and if you go in the next room, that everyone's glued to the TVs waiting for the race of the 19th district of the state Senate. We were over with the Republicans earlier.
We have the governor at West Allis and Mary Burke at the Overture Center for the Arts in Madison, expecting to hear from her in just, like you said, about 5 minutes. In the meantime, let's head back over to Matt Smith and our political analyst Dave Wege with a more detailed look at the breakdown of those exit polling numbers in the governor's race.
Bill and Cammie, of course, we will catch Burke and Walker's comments live as they are about to speak. The governor's campaign just issued a statement, Dave, within the last 10 minutes, first acknowledging the win. The governor and lieutenant governor, and I'll read part of this to you. He says, quote, "I thank you, the voters of Wisconsin, for the honor of allowing me to serve as your governor for another 4 years." That's part of the statement the campaign just released. As we look at the latest numbers, 54 to 45. Mary Burke has just taken the stage in Madison. Let's take a listen in.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. 13 months ago, we started an improbable, incredible journey together. And soon after that, I hung a poster on the wall of my campaign office that has always had special meaning to me. It's a poster of Coach Lombardi with my favorite quote of his, and it reads, "It's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up."
A majority of Republicans for the governor, a majority of Democrats for Mary Burke. The governor, with 96% of Republican support, is walking out on the stage right now to accept victory. Let's take a listen in.
Now that's a sea change, the difference between Washington and Wisconsin. You see, the folks in Washington like this top-down approach that's old and artificial and outdated, that says the government knows best. We believe that you should build the economy from the ground up. That's new and fresh and organic, and that's what we're going to do.
And recapping now the 8th congressional district race, where incumbent Republican Reed Ribble wins re-election tonight. This is with 68% of precincts reporting 64% of the vote for Reed Ribble, compared to Ron Gritt's 36%. He was the Democratic challenger. Our Claire Cayley is following that race as well. She joins us live in the newsroom with more. Claire.
Cammie, Representative Reed Ribble has won his 3rd congressional race in a large margin win. He called the race around an hour ago as he gathered with family and supporters this evening in Green Bay. Ribble wins his 3rd term against Ron Gritt. He says he's ready to continue his work for the 8th District, stating his win is all about putting the power of voting back in the hands of the people. Take a listen.
And all the power is removed from the people in Washington, the people in Madison, and it's returned to you. Do you guys have any idea how magical that is? It is exactly what our founders had intended.
We do have an update now on the state attorney general race. Susan Happ has just, we've been informed, has just conceded this race to Brad Schimmel. Again, now with 74% of the vote in, Schimmel leading Susan Happ 52 to 45%. So that means Brad Schimmel, the Waukesha County District Attorney, will succeed J.B. Van Hollen as the state attorney general going forward. They needed to gain 6 seats to do so. So far, they've picked up 7 seats, with 3 seats still very much up in the air. That means the Republicans now control the U.S. Senate and U.S. House. What does this mean? Let's turn it over to Matt Smith and Dave Wege with more interpretation on that. Gentlemen.
All right, Bill, our exit polling asked Wisconsin voters about national issues. We didn't have a Senate race here, but this kind of reflects the mood as we're seeing. How worried are you about the direction of the nation's economy? 83% say they are worried. Let's start with this, Dave. This is a big number.
That's a huge number, and even though the economy has gotten better over the last few years, there's still a lot of residual concern.
We thank you for watching our election 2014 coverage. An interesting night. Things called a lot earlier than we assumed. A governor's race being called early, just 9:25 tonight. So.
Very much so. Again, the winners tonight: Scott Walker, Glenn Grothman, and Reed Ribble for Congress. Brad Schimmel at the state attorney general, the 19th state race still not called between Penny Bernard Shaber and Roger Roth.
All the latest numbers will be on WBAY.com, and watch Action 2 News this morning, tomorrow morning, for an update as well. Thanks for watching tonight.
Good night.